Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video I'll be showing you how you can create this cake flyer in Coreldraw from start to finish, with steps which I will be showing you that you'll be able to understand even as a beginner, an intermediate, or a professional. So without further ado, let's get started. And lest I forget, if you've not subscribed to my channel, if you're new to this channel, please kindly hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on the post notification so you miss any videos I'll be dropping anytime from now. Alright guys, without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I would like to do is I will go and click on file and then click on new, and I'll just give it a name. I'll just give it a cake flyer, right? And I would set my color mode to RGB. I would set this to 5x5, and my standard unit of measurement will be set to inches, please, not pixels. Right, so having done all of this, I'll just go ahead and click OK. Right, so as we've always done in previous videos, so the first thing I would like to do is double click on the rectangle to create a new rectangle here, and I'll go over to this point and remove the outline. So guys, the first thing we would want to do is we have to work on the background first, right? So the first thing we need to create a gradient for this background. So I'll just go over to my keyboard. I'll just press G on my keyboard, right? And I'll make sure I'm selecting the fountain fill. But in this case, I would have to change it. I don't want it going from this point to this point. I want it starting from this base. So how do we do that? We hold down Shift and we start it like this, right, guys? This way. So as it is like this now, this is not what we want. So we would want to tweak it to fit the purpose of this flyer. So what we need to do is add 2 extra points to this straight line. So how do you do that? Just come on the line and just double click 1, 2. You can see we've added 1. Go to the next point here, 1, 2. Added the second one, right? So for this we'll be giving different colors, right? So for this first one, just click on it. When you click on it, it will bring out this part, right? If it brings out something like this, make sure you click on this first one. It's always this first one, guys, right? So move this aside and just highlight what you have there and change the color code which I'll be giving to you. This one is 2C 141410, right? Just click OK when you're done with that. The next one here, which is this one, click on it and highlight all of them like this and type the value. So 696A. Sorry, that's A, right? 90696A, right? Good. So let's move over to the next one, which is this one. So highlight everything like this and input the value. This one is FCD C2, right? Click enter, and of course the last one, which is this one, go over to this point and highlight it like this and F768. So F768, that's not 68, F7EA, then E4 also, right? When you're done with this, just click OK, right? But what I want to do with this, I would like to bring this up a bit, so I'll just drag from this point, still holding down the Shift key, and make sure I have something like this, right? Move this up and move this down a bit. Would be modifying this later on, but let's just continue with what we have here like this. So the next thing I want to do is I would want to bring in my first element. So I'll go over to where I have my cake. I'll just drag this first one, starting with this one. I'll drag inside like this and place it here like this. So I'm just going to make it smaller to fit the rectangle so we can work with it inside here. So what we have to do now is I have to make a duplicate copy of this cake. So what I'll do is Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Now we have 2 copies of this cake. So I'll make this one smaller whilst it's outside like this. So this is the first one we're working with. So I'll make it smaller, but not too small as what we have here. So the essence of this is because we need to create transparency with this cake, so it has that transparency effect that you normally see in designs online, right? So the first thing we need to do is get rid of this sharp edges. How do we do that? Go over to transparency and hold down the shift key. It will drag from white to black, right? Somewhere along this line, and we're good like that, right? So having done this, I want to make this smaller because it seems too big for what we want to do, right? Make sure this is not sticking out. You can go over to your shape tool and highlight these 2 points and bring it inside like this, because you don't want anything outside, right? So having done this, what we'll do is go to bitmap and convert to bitmap like this, right? Make sure it's in 300, click OK, right? So next thing we need to do is go back to the transparency tool, click on this first one, uniform transparency, and I'm just going to set the value to 93, and I think 93 is too much. Let's just 90, right? I think I'm good with 90. So having done this, we're cool with this. So next thing we want to do is we need to power clip it inside of this rectangle. So how do we do that? Select the cake itself and right click and click on power clip inside. Now when this arrow comes out, make sure you're not clicking on the same place. Make sure you click on the save point in or on the rectangle, right? As you can see now, it has added it to the rectangle, right? So that's how to power clip inside Coreldraw. The next thing we need to do is we need to get this guy over here and position it well, yeah, like this, right? I'm gonna bring this down a little bit, just like this. So having done this, I would want to get rid of these sharp edges too. So what I'll do is go over to transparency tool and hold down shift and make sure that place is not visible again. I can drag this up a bit, just so to this point, because I don't want to see those sharp edges any longer, right? The next thing I want to do is I want to create a light effect, like a light effect from this point. So what I'll do is I'll go over to my ellipse tool, click on the ellipse tool, hold down control when you're drawing the ellipse. If you don't hold down control, you end up drawing the egg like this. We don't want that, so hold down control and draw out like this, right? So having done this, I'll give it color white and I'll remove the outline like this. I'll go over to my speak tool back and I'll select transparency tool. I'll select the fountain transparency and I'll first select the elliptical fountain transparency, and I'll change the blend mode from normal to what? Screen for light. Anything that has to do with light, make sure that it's either in screen or it's in lighter color. For this, I'll just use screen and position it here. Of course, I won't be leaving it here because we'll have a problem. So what I will just do is I want to power clip it inside of this container we have here, right? So what I want to do is I'll just select it like this, Ctrl X to cut it, and double click on the rectangle, Ctrl V to paste it inside, and I can then make this bigger to create that effect, right? So as you can see now, I have a light effect from this part of this cake, right? So let's go on and also bring in various images in this design. And some persons have always asked me in my previous tutorial, how do you get these images, right? One of the websites I use to get these images is iClipArt. So I'll just go to Google and I'll just type iClipArt, right? The hi is spelled hi as for hi, then clip, then art.com, right? So when you're here on the search panel, just search for cake and click enter like this. Of course, you have so many variations, and everything on this website are PNG images. PNG images, they don't have backgrounds, just as you've seen here, right? So I can then go over to what I want. As you can see now, this is one of the images we're going to be using in this tutorial. So I just click on it like this and it opens it in another tab, right? And when it opens up, make sure you are clicking on download original PNG, right? It will give you the size of this image. As you can see here, 322.22 kilobytes, right? Make sure you're not clicking on this download here. You're seeing here, this is not the download to click on. You're supposed to click on this, right? So you can just simply click on it and it opens up in another new tab again. And the last thing you need to do here is just click on I'm not a robot, right? click on it, check marks, and it will then ask you where you want to save it and what you want to save it as. So because I have saved this previously, I won't want to save this again, so I'll just click on cancel to cancel what I have here, right? The next thing I want to do is I'll go over to my next image, which I will be bringing inside, which is this velvet cake that I have here. Nice looking velvet cake, right? So I bring it inside and I will drop it inside my design like this. I'll make it smaller, right, because I don't want to make it too big. I'll make it smaller like this. I might have to move this up a bit, right? I'll just place this here and also make it a little bit smaller, smaller. I say smaller, I meant smaller, right? Just like this, right? So immediately I'll go over to my next image. I just want to bring in all my images so I have them arranged and stacked up. So I'll bring in my other image, which is this one. I'll also make it smaller. Make sure you're holding your shift and you are increasing from the edges, not the top and the size. No, you don't want to do that, right? So I'm just going to leave it this way, and I'm going to position it well to fit in perfectly, right? I'm going to take this inside like this, and I'm going to put this here, right? So I haven't done this. One thing I would want to do is I'll just leave it the way it is, right? So the next thing I want to do is I want to create my rectangle. Let me just move this out here a bit like this, and I'll push this back inside here like this. I'll select all of them and reduce the size a bit, just like this, so it's not too much, right? I think I'm okay with it this way. The next thing I want to do is I'll create a rectangle. So I'll just draw a rectangle like this, right? So for this rectangle, I will just double click on this pen buckets because I want to give it a color. Click on this uniform fill, which is the first one. Make sure you're not clicking the fountain fill, right? So click on this and I will just change the color code to what I want it to be. Six eights, 3128, 3128 like this, and I'm going to click OK like this, right? So I'm going to get rid of the black outline it has by clicking this. So guys, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a fountain fill for it too. So what I'll do is I'll click on G on my keyboard and I will click on this one that says fountain fill, right? But I'm not going to doing mine from this color to white here we have, right? I'm going to be having it like this, right? But for this white, I'm going to change the color and I'm going to use color from the body of this cake here like this, right? So I have a nice looking gradient here, but for this one I don't want it to be on top of this cake. I want it to be behind these cakes I have here. So what do? Right click and I press order, right? This is order and I go back one. Can you see now? I've just sent this to the back of this design, right? So as it is there, the next thing I want to do is I want to create a glassy effect on this rectangle. So what I can do is I'll go to the ellipse tool, I'll drag and I'll just drop like this. I'll go over to the pick tool to position it well for me and I'll bring this inside so it forms like an oval shape. I'll give it a white color and I'll remove the outline like this. I'll go over to the transparency tool and I'll hold down shift. I'm just going to drag from this point to this point here like this, so I have something like this, right? Make sure you can see the part of the rectangle which you want to use it for. So we're not going to stop here. The next thing we want to do is go to bitmap, convert to bitmap again, click OK. The next thing we're going to do is come over to the transparency to select this and select the first one, uniform transparency, right? So what we need to do is bump it up to, let's say, 85. Just click enter, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down a bit and position it well. I think I might want to give it 90, right? I think at this place I'm safe. So we want to power clip it inside of this rectangle. So how do we do that? So click on it and click on power clip inside, then select the rectangle. As you can see now, it's now part of this rectangle we have. So if you want to spice things up, maybe you want to add an extra effect to make sure it's all glossy and it's looking all good, what you can do is I'll double click on the rectangle and I'm just going to flip this like this, and I'm going to increase my transparency from 90 to like 94, right? I'm going to position this very well so it's in the middle, and when you're done, this is what you have, right? So I can choose to reduce this one I have here, which is this one, by going to bitmap again, convert to bitmap, click OK, and select the transparency, select the first one like this, right? And when I'm done, I'll click on finish, right? This is what I have, right? I want to align this gradient well, so I'll just press G on my keyboard and make sure it's coming from this region like this. So this is what I have, right? So it blends well with what I have on this part already. So I'll just go in and add my text to it. So for this one, I'll just go over to objects and I'll break apart like this. So I have them standing on their own, right? I'll just increase this one here a bit, just like this. I'm going to drag all of this up like this. So I'm going to continue with my text. So I haven't done this. I'll just come over here and I want to change the color for this blaze so it stands out, because that's the name of the company itself. So what I'll just do is I'll come here and click on this bucket tool part and I'll just input the code for the text. 23 2B26 2B26. Right, done that. I'm just gonna click just modify it to B26. Right, so this is the color I intend to use for the bliss. Then for the cake, I'll also like to use a lighter color, so I'll select the two of them and go over to my color where I have them, highlight everything I have, and I'm going to input the value, which is D3 6F42. Just going to press enter. Okay guys, this is what I have, right? So I'm just going to go on and type the rest of my details. Okay, so I haven't done this. I can just select all of them and move this upward a little bit because I don't want it to be too distant from what I have here, right? So there you have it. To also make this services stand out, let me move this upward a bit. So I'll just move it upward like this. I would create a rectangle on this part here, right? Just stick with me on this. I'll give it a white, yeah. So what I'll need to do is I'll go over to my transparency tool here like this, and I'm going to start from this point, and I'm going to hold it down here like this, right? And make sure I don't see all these edges, so I'll start from this point here like this, and I'm going to drag it all the way back here like this. So I haven't done this. This is exactly what I want. What I can just do is I'll go over to bitmap, convert to bitmap, and I'm going to press OK, right? Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my transparency tool, then I'm going to select this first one, uniform transparency, right? Good. So I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit like this, right? And I'm going to cut it, double click on this rectangle, right? And I'll just paste it inside. But I'm not just going to paste one. I've pasted this one, so I'm just going to make a duplicate copy of this, Ctrl C and Ctrl V, and I'm going to move this up a little bit like this. And when I'm done, I'll click on finish. Guys, as you can see, this is the effects I want to create from this, right? So you can just go ahead and you can make duplicate copies of what you want. I just want to make sure that point, that part is highlighted. But with this one now, we have a problem here, so we have to send this to the back of this cake also. So what we'll do is select this rectangle, right, and right click on it, and click on order, and click on back one, click on it again, and click on order, and click on back one. As you can see now, it has gone back, it has gone to the back at last, right? So if we want to modify it more, we want to add lighting effects, click on the ellipse tool and draw another ellipse. Make sure for this part I would like to select this point we have here. I'll give it this color here and remove the outline, right? Go over to this transparency tool, select this first one I have here, right, and select elliptical fountain transparency. Then I'll click on screen, right? So I'll just move it to the areas which I feel will be needing some highlights, right? Like on this part here, areas that the light hits naturally, right? It's not good you go and put it in areas where there's no light already hitting, right? So for this, I'll make it bigger instead, so it covers these areas like this, right? So having done all of this, we're good to go. Our flyer is ready to be used on the internet. So guys, this brings me to the end of the tutorial. If you've liked this video, kindly hit the like button, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of these videos. Right guys, I would see you in the next video.